Hello, Muzikstan family. We are here today to interview Max, who's
Hi.
been one of our guests, one of our Thursday events during the Muzikstan Beyond One Culture project. I'm very happy to be here with him today, and we're going to have a chat. And it's for us all to hear his amazing journey with music. And if you had the opportunity to be there when he came to play, I mean, you were very much in for a treat because it was special. And if not, check him out because he's an amazing person and musician. So, Max, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here today. So, if you want to just tell us a bit about your musical journey and what inspires you.
Sure. Well, that could be a big answer.
Yeah.
Well, what inspires me is a love of music and a love of all the instruments I play, and just a constant desire to play more on them, express myself on them, and go on a journey learning about the different music cultures they come from, and getting a feeling for those cultures and the sort of wider culture behind each of those world musics. But I didn't start doing that. I started playing I started just playing the metal flute, which I still play.
So were you trained classically?
I was trained classically, and I went to school in London many years ago. And did classical music at school, went to university and begun doing classical music there. And it was then, whilst at university, that I started investigating Irish folk music, and sort of it felt like everything changed for me, and that love of Irish folk music spread out into lots of other world music from across the world, which I just continued, a bit like a sort of something kind of a light bulb going off in my brain, and all these different pathways going off from it, which is just basically ever since then I've continued following. Obviously having to earn a living while doing so, and so doing teaching instruments, and playing gigs and adding more instruments to what I do as the years have progressed. But the interesting thing for me when I was aged 19 at university and discovered Irish music for myself, I then very quickly started connecting up dots in my life of stuff I already liked. So if you have seen me play Muzikstan before, you know I like playing Chinese music and I have a big affinity for that. And that reached back into my very distant past because my family have a background going to and working in China. So I've been surrounded by music from China all my life. I had Chinese flutes being given to me as gifts when I was far too young to appreciate them, and I was just a bored teenager, barely practicing my own instruments. So when I then came to suddenly realise there's this whole world of folk and world music out there, thanks to being inspired by Irish music, I very quickly connected up the dots of the Chinese music. And then, for instance, and I was just playing this today, the Chilean quena, so this is from Chile in South America. Again, I found myself very quickly being lent one of these by a colleague at university. This is a cane flute from Chile. I'll play a little blast of it in a second. And lo and behold, I discovered a record in my collection which I'd taken from my parents, and that was a record of Chilean music by a seminal Chilean band called Kiapayun. And it turned out that was the music that had inspired me, and it had made my parents think it might be worth making me pick up the metal flute, because I'd been jumping around like a little lunatic to Chilean music. And so it was nice 19 and a half years later then to borrow a Chilean flute and figure out how to play it. So, and funnily enough, this shows you the sort of life I lead. I've just been working on playing this more because I'm giving a lesson to someone on it, and because I want to use it more in my own work. So if I play a quick blast on this.
Please.
a huayno, a type of, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, so I'd love to be corrected, a type of South American Andean dance form, a bit like we have jigs and reels and so on in Western European folk music, played here on the Chilean quena. So that's a very good example of just the instruments and the directions things can take me in.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot coming to you. Like obviously you were seeking and you were open and you were studying, but it also sounds like you were surrounded by it already, and the certain things like were collected along the journey, or they came to you, and then they shaped the music that you do now.
Definitely,
and the musician you've become.
Absolutely. I mean, those were just a few. That was me just saying a few of the things that kind of I backtracked from when I first got into the music. But being here in Birmingham, the very moment, and I was on a music course, but so I had a few things from inspirations from my fellow students there. But yeah, being in Birmingham, the moment I got into Irish music, I then very soon was introduced to the massive Irish music community in Birmingham, and was in my third year being very untoward and missing all my rehearsals and lectures and going off to meet to Irish jam sessions and meeting and having sessions with the late great Pat Malloy, who is one of the sort of godfathers, if you like, of Irish music in Birmingham. He sadly passed away now, but a violin teacher who was one of the godfathers of Irish music in Birmingham. And then beyond that, meeting people who've been studying at the Birmingham Conservatoire, who are working with Indian musicians, or who are inspired by Middle Eastern ney music. I mean, the ney flutes. Not that I play that instrument. About 10 years later, being introduced, thanks to a musical colleague in Birmingham called Sid Peacock, who's probably very familiar to a lot of people who've had something to do with Muzikstan over the years. Being introduced to some Chinese musicians by him, who I then had a long period of playing in the Chinese music ensemble we had going. So yeah, lots of influences coming on, and my colleagues I work with today are a constant inspiration to me. I know other people who played at Muzikstan are people I work with and playing with in different ensembles, and I'm inspired by some of the instruments and the traditions that they play with.
I believe we are incredibly lucky because our environment is so rich and so diverse. And that's also what we wanted to bring to Muzikstan, and just to give space and to create, again, is also the reason why it's called Beyond One Culture. Because, we want to create something that is completely inclusive and they can inspire people to seek a bit further and, to look at all sorts of music. One question I've got in mind now that you've told us a bit about your journeys, do you see yourself as somebody who can inspire people to be more open or to be curious around, all these fantastic, almost never-ending quantity and diversity of music that we have and we can be exposed to? So do you see yourself as somebody who can lead on that?
Yeah, I'd like to think that my enthusiasm for what I do and my enthusiasm for the music that I want to play and the stories I want to share can inspire other people to want to continue looking into, and maybe if they haven't heard that particular instrument, that particular sound before, look into and think more about that part of the world and that part of our community where that music might come from, and hopefully go off on their own journey. A bit like I've had many of mine over the years. I mean, I presented at the most recent Muzikstan, and also at the Muzikstan I did online during lockdown. I presented lots of different instruments, and I did have some chats with people after the live set, the recent Muzikstan, and I saw some chats with people online after the online one I did, where it did sound like people's eyes and ears were open to instruments they perhaps hadn't heard before, or perhaps they may have heard the instrument before but actually known specifically what it was or exactly where it's from, and so for them it starts connecting up the dots.
I think it was very special that night, especially because you were able to tell us the stories behind the instrument, behind the music, to put it in context. And for me, it was a fantastic event that night because you really took me on a journey, and it was really really special. Like, it's incredible what you can do with music and with all the culture and all the richness that you bring with you during your performances. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, that was my intention of that was present a wide variety of sounds and to go on a bit of a journey. In fact, when I was thinking about it, I was almost trying to imagine it in my head as one direct route across the globe. In the end, because of the different areas featured, and I did kind of feature the Far East twice, so I did have to kind of go back and forth. One piece of music was a Chinese piece of music, another piece of music was from Hong Kong, and that was actually very special to me. So it was very special to me to be able to present, to get a chance to give people this tour and to choose things I knew and loved and musical instruments I can play and I know and love, and then get a chance to share them. And it was the first time for some of these things. My musical journey has obviously not been everything happening at once. So it's been doing something, maybe being lent an instrument, maybe hearing someone play an instrument, maybe not being asked to pick up an instrument to play for a theatre show that I have to play. And from that begins the journey which takes me on an instrument. So I started and ended the performance on the Scottish small pipes, a type of slightly quieter Scottish bagpipes. And I'm very much on the journey of those, slowly beginning to learn all the traditional Scottish ways of playing them. And so I got a chance to do that at Muzikstan. I also presented a piece where I was improvising Chinese music alongside a Buddhist chant that I'd picked up in Hong Kong, outside one of the temples there, where they gave out these little gadgets which you play a sort of repeating Buddhist chant. So, because, as I said, Chinese music in the background in China and in Hong Kong have a very important place in my heart, it meant that it was really nice that I got a chance and a space to which to explore this idea, one which I'll probably be doing again. So, Muzikstan provided me with the support, to be able to try and bring this idea live, and experiment with it. But then the other thing about that night was, if you're talking about sort of having eyes opened and inspiring people to go on new journeys, Christy, who was the Romanian violinist who was also playing that night, I'd known of him, but I hadn't heard him myself play before. And with my partner being Romanian, I was able to sort of connect up the dots with the music that she's grown up with and a particular style of celebration music, and hear Christy play that, and again think to myself, probably a lot of people in the audience won't have heard that before, and now they're going to go away and want to check out that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's such an opportunity and to learn and is enriching. One thing I was thinking about now, have you ever thought, or do you do any kind of fusion? So, for example, I was, so intrigued by all the flutes that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And, for example, you play South American flute for specific type of music, or something, a Chinese instrument for Chinese traditional music, or Irish, and so on. Have you ever crossed them over? Is it possible?
It is definitely possible. It's not. I don't think it's something I've done on my own. Partly because actually, although I've done these music stands for a few times now, I haven't tended to go out performing on my own in any guise really over the many years I've worked playing for other people in groups. So it is, of course, I'm a member of a group based in Birmingham called The Destroyers, and we, although we're inspired by and play a lot of music which is rooted around the Balkans and around klezmer music, we do fuse a lot of things together. We take ideas from maybe sort of more like the way a band would want to play music based in the UK, and we apply some of those grooves and some of those kind of approaches to the music, and then we also add Celtic music and all sorts of crazy ideas into our music. So I suppose I'm used to fusing things from that perspective. But I think for myself, it's something I'd definitely like to do in the future. I mean, I want to explore playing with loop pedals. So actually, so that's one of the next things on my journey to do. Yeah. Although I have to say it's quite something. I am my own worst enemy because I'm so inspired by every one of these cultures, and I believe I'm just on this little step at the bottom, looking up and keep on exploring, and learning tunes. It's very easy from that perspective to want to just, without even wanting to try and be sort of, oh no, I must just focus on this. You just naturally you're just so hungry for that thing that when you're going down that particular line on that instrument, it's natural to almost stay within that realm. But no, I do definitely. It's something I want to do in the future. Is I want to sort of explore the fusing, and I mean it's been done. It's lots of brilliant people have been fusing musics from across the world now, going back a long time really, and there's been several really great bands who've been doing it over the last 20, 30 years. So anything is possible, and as long as it's done with love and respect for the music, and we've got to remember, of course, that all the folk music we listen to, by and large, has been assembled or reassembled or had someone make some change to it every sort of 20, 30 years. So nothing stays the same forever. So it's as long as it's done with love and respect, it's all possible.
Absolutely, and it's infinite possibilities then. Totally, like beautiful. Would you like to show us any other of your instruments?
Sure. Yeah. I'll just sort of grab a few out. I might play a tune on one for a second. I might just show it. It's all of it. I don't know if you want. Do you want to lift the camera and just show my workstation, if you can? Just kind of lift it over here, and you can see that I have.
This is where it all happens.
So there's a drawer with flutes, and then with sort of Irish whistles, and we go one thing up, and we've got Chinese instruments. Hiding at the back are Chilean flutes, like I demonstrated earlier. And then if we go to the top drawer, we have whistles and various shorter woodwind instruments from across the world.
Wow.
And I won't take you on a tour of the house, but often in this house, if you go into a cupboard, you're as likely to find an instrument case popping out at you as you are. Yeah, it's a careful balancing of instruments. So yeah, this is a good example. Did I play this one? I played a smaller one of these at the last Muzikstan, and I played this bigger one at the Muzikstan online. This is a good example, this instrument, of one which definitely people haven't seen before, but definitely catches their ears, and actually often they start to realise they may have heard it, perhaps in a famous sort of Chinese soundtrack or on a kung fu film or something. It's called a hulu se. It comes from southwest China, although it's now very sort of ubiquitous and famous across the whole of China. It's a folk instrument, so it's got a gourd here, and then these pipes. Inside each pipe is a little reed, and the main pipe is the one which plays the melody, and the side pipes provide backing. So the melody is played here. And then if I take off one of these, if I take off another one, and
beautiful.
Yeah. So this is one of the instruments. Yeah, they're somewhere in this house. There's a whole cupboard full of them, which you have to navigate if you want to get more regular things out of cupboards, like hoovers or sheets.
I feel extremely lucky to have seen this live like this. Like it's really unbelievable.
My pleasure. It's
fantastic.
This is the room. My latest thing has been digging out a bigger version of the Chilean flute that I showed you before. As you can see, I've got my collection of instruments, which I love to pick from, and depending on if I'm teaching the Irish low whistle one day to someone. A Christmas tune for everyone there because we're doing this around Christmas, so that was a Weckford carol. Or I could be having to play something on one of my bamboo flutes. Or, as is the case recently, I was working with young musicians writing Chinese music. I'll be playing the Chinese traditional flutes. So half the time is rummaging through here, getting the instrument out.
I'm impressed that you can find them all.
Well, yeah, I have to sometimes. I've had to get rid of some of them.
Oh no!
It turns out I have doubles of them. You can see on the wall here that I've got two, but they're actually that's an interesting case because they're both ones of incredible importance to me because I bought them both when I was visiting Shanghai where my parents were in the early 2000s. But unfortunately, for different reasons, both of them don't work very well now. They both. And that's not because I've stuck them up on the wall. It's before I stuck them on the wall. They both got sort of cracks and then they're too out of pitch. But yeah, this is the Chinese flute, the Dietze.
It's just the way you curate all of these and your passion for the music and your way of researching these things is absolutely incredible.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's
great. You're really like, I had no idea there were so many.
You might say too many. But it's something constantly, and if I'm not, I was working with young musicians for a project with the Birmingham Contemporary Music Ensemble, composing music in the Chinese style recently. So I was really focusing on these Chinese instruments. So this is
you've got it in your heart, is so clear. Okay, that instrument's not very warmed up, so it's a bit too buzzy, but don't worry about that. But then, this is just a case of how my life is. I've just started teaching someone how to play this Chilean flute that I was talking about earlier, so I'm now digging out other ones I had locked away in bags and boxes and finding out the ones that work. So that's a sort of insight into my life as a musician and how it's connected with Muzikstan. Funny enough, Chinese music does have a very early connection with Muzikstan. I'm not sure you know this, but back when Muzikstan started, I played the second ever one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, back in 2012.
12 or something like that. Yeah.
So so it's really nice to still be part of the Muzikstan family.
All
these years later.
And again, you can seriously your passion comes through your music and your instruments, and you can really see that you do it with your heart. Because the way you research, the way you play, the way you respect, and also the words you used before, like treating everything with respect and interest in the right way. And that's when we can create something that becomes enriching, that can be spread, and that can also is a vehicle for so many positive messages.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and we are lucky to have you as a musician here in Birmingham, and to be able to have your Muzikstan and to be able to share these.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Muzikstan giving us all the opportunity to take part in this and to help deliver this and be part of this. And the Muzikstan, as we said, going back all the way to 2012, has been offering this space and facilitating this for musicians.
Yeah.
And so long may that continue.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, is there anything else you would like to say or share before maybe
Well, I
we
mean,
close?
you know, I mean, on one level, I'd love to say and share everything about every one of these instruments. I'm not sure.
We might have a second take at some point. Or we might have to invite you again.
Well, I wasn't going to. I do. As I said earlier, it was wonderful doing the one in the Muzikstan in summer because it gave me a chance to try some new ideas and test new ideas. One of them, as I said, was me playing with the Buddhist chant, and that led me to thinking that another time, if I was lucky enough to be invited back to Muzikstan, I'd want to go on a much deeper dive, just purely into the Chinese instruments. As you could tell, there's Chinese gourd instruments. There are Chinese vertically held flutes. There are Chinese sideways held flutes. There's even the Chinese mouth organ. Now, I haven't yet figured out how to play this, so this is like a spoiler for next time. But
wow!
A colleague in Birmingham has very kindly lent me his one. This is called the Sheng. I don't mind trying to.
Is it like an organ?
It's kind of like a mouth organ. It's where the accordion, the harmonica, got their technology from. It's got inside it. It's got the same reeds, which were then travelled with people's migration through to countries in Europe and America, where instruments like the harmonica and the accordion were developed. So this is a precursor to them. Wow. It's called the Sheng. That chord there was the limit of what I'm prepared to play in public on at the moment. But this is perhaps the best example of the process that I go through, where I acquire an instrument, I develop a love for it, and then I slowly start to explore it. So who knows? This might make an appearance if I play again at Muzikstan in the future. But as I say, certainly, if I was lucky enough to be invited, I'd definitely want to present a lot of Chinese music to people. But that said, there's, you know, if and hopefully it does, Muzikstan continues its season of different projects. There's a city here in Birmingham rich with people who are ready and able to play and share their music. So I'd quite happily be an audience member for another 12 years until I'm asked back as well.
Well, beautiful, beautiful. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for sharing this with us once more. Mm-hmm. And thank you everybody for listening and for supporting Muzikstan. Mm-hmm. And see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.